This guy went from a corporate photographer for H&M to owning his own podcast and production studio. His story is very interesting because he really found his way into this studio and faced a lot of adversity getting it going. What's up, you guys? My name is AJ DeAndrea and welcome back to the Monday Mindset. And I just want to say thank you guys for all the patience with last week. There was a lot of rebranding for the Monday Mindset going on, and I really made sure to listen to the people. The people said this should be its own series, so we made it its own series. It's its own page now. So today we had the opportunity to speak with my friend Enrique about he and his business partner Misal's podcast and production studio. We talked about a lot of great things, such as if you should make your hobby your business, how they were able to gather a community around their studio, about some adversities they had to face, and a lot more. So without further ado, let's get right into the video.
How's it going? I'm Enrique, and this is the XR Space. This is the common area, the waiting room where people come in and wait, whether it's in between bookings or in between shoots, whether they be photo or video. Let's go check out the studio. This is our control room and our editing bay. Here's where we edit photos, videos, and this is where we control when we're doing podcasts. So switcher, mixer, and a couple recorders. And this is where the magic happens. So we have a 180-degree green screen for video and a 12-foot backdrop for any editorials, family photos. This area we do have another set of backdrops for more personal photo shoots or for product sessions. And then we have our pantograph to keep more real estate on the ground so we don't have tripods and light stands. And we have cameras mounted and a TV so that way we can monitor video or photos.
So man, I gotta say, this is probably one of the nicest studios I've been to as far as like aesthetic wise. I like the dark theme to it. The logo and everything that you have is a very good way to portray how this space is. How did you come up with the name, the XR Space?
That was actually my business partner, Misal. I helped him open it. He had, I would say, more than 50% of the structural part done. But yeah, he came up with it because he wants to do virtual production. As a cinematographer and director, he wants to continue to evolve. And so virtual production involves a lot of mixed reality. So XR is mixed reality. So that's where it comes from. So it's very tech forward, and yeah, I definitely feel like the space sort of represents tech forward, right? It feels very techy in here.
Oh yeah, it does. It feels like almost like a space. Like it gives that type like a space command center in the middle of this. And like the cooler part is you got the nice common area, but then you walk in here and you're like, whoa, you would have never expected that to be in here. Yeah. So it's really cool. So you chose Joliet, Illinois. What kind of inspired that?
I'm not originally from Joliet. I'm from Bolingbrook. I was working a corporate job, but my business partner was the one that partnered up with Cesar Cardenas, which owns Unidos Marketing Network. You know, he provides marketing services and Misal provides video services, so he contracts them. They just wanted something new, so they came here, and I just so happened to come back before they even opened the building.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so we had a soft launch before we even opened the building. So it was actually all of them. I just happened to be at the right place at the right time.
That makes a lot of sense. How has the community been responding to being in Joliet? I know that there's probably a lot more community you would think in Chicago, but I feel like you've done a really good job at trying to bring more people into Joliet.
Unresponsive at first. We have been open for officially 2 years, since October of 23. At first, it was just like dead, no business, you know. We spent a lot of money on advertisements. We were like touching a little bit on social media marketing, but it wasn't our primary focus. Our focus was like, hey, let's continue to get more clientele. Let's just work, right?
Yeah.
But it wasn't until the second year or the tail end of 2022 where we were part of a photography, videography convention.
Yeah.
It's called ClickCon here in Chicago, which is really cool. And we got a booth and we started to network. We're like, let's build our database. Let's start collecting emails, people's information, and you know, get people from the city to come here. If we can't go to them, have them come to us. Right? We are looking to expand, but it's a little premature. So you know, I won't mention too much on that. But stay tuned. Stay tuned.
There you go.
I absolutely love being a part of that convention because then it sort of helped us gain that traction traction.
Yeah.
And then I went head first with social media marketing in 2023, and we've been growing and people have been noticing, and we've gotten more rentals, more projects in here, not just individual artists like ourselves, but actual marketing teams, which is really cool.
Yeah.
We've had Paramount in here.
That's awesome, man.
They did like a voiceover for a show that they did. Slowly and surely, we're building sort of our base. Is this something that you stand with? Have the same mission statement? Do you guys have similar goals? Are they in need of your service? And if not, how can you help them, right? And yeah, I just realized cold calling was just not working. And I thought, you know what, let me just take a step back. And I'm like, let's reanalyze. And we realized too, the approach for social media wasn't working either. And we weren't giving it, I feel, 100%. When we had shift our focus, got closer with the marketing team, they gave us a monthly plan, if not quarterly plan, and we would attack it by week. And we started working a month in advance. And that's where the traction really started, because we were consistently online. And I think that's another important aspect to have, is being engaging, not just by uploading social media, but by reposting people in the community, whether that be a small business, an artist, or a creative, resharing that work and supporting others around you, you know?
Absolutely. And it sounds like you guys were getting more purposeful with what you were doing, in a sense, where it was like, hey, you know, we're posting this because we're looking for this, or we're posting this because we want to show this, or something like that. And I feel like that's the social media route that most people should, everybody should take. You know, be purposeful with what you're doing.
Right, absolutely, you know? Intentional. That's the approach that I have with my art. Although I am a businessman and a photographer, I like to consider myself an artist because I do street photography, not for money, not for social media. And I have to remind myself each shot is intentional. And that should be applied throughout business and any other art, you know? Any profession. Each step should be intentional. Don't just do it just to do it. Right?
Absolutely. And that kind of leads me to my next question. How does your business impact your livelihood, which is your art side, right? Has it made you get a little bored with it?
No, I was scared. Funny enough, we just touched on it. ClickCon, the photography convention. I met one of my inspirations, and he's a portrait photographer. He has amazing work, and he was there, and I was just like, oh my gosh, it's such a pleasure to finally meet you. My first instinct was to ask, when did you start your business? And he's like, oh, this isn't a business. And I was like, wait, what? He's like, yeah, I'm actually a barista at my buddy's coffee shop. And then I was like, oh, really?
Wow.
And then he's like, yeah. He's like, I didn't fall into a trend of making your hobby a business. He's like, I do this because I love this first and foremost. And then I started questioning everything. I was like, wait a minute, should I even have turned this into a business? You know?
Got me questioning.
Right. No, and it gave me a whole different perspective, because when I started off my journey as a photographer, I was going to school for photojournalism. I really enjoyed street photography, film photography, and I was like, ooh, you know, I'm gonna grow up and travel the world and shoot pictures, right? And I quickly came to learn that that's not really realistic, you know? So I was able to find that balance, and I'm really happy that I was able to. A lot of times when I'm holding my big chunky digital camera, or you know, I got my setup, it's work. It always feels like work. I was really fortunate enough to find that balance, because although I am a commercial photographer, I do runway, I do fashion, I do products. I still have that artistic side of me where I'm able to find that self-expression, that release to escape, you know, whether it's just throwing on some headphones, walking the streets and telling some stories, or just sitting down and cutting up some negatives and scanning them, you know, like I'm very blessed that I was able to find that balance. Sometimes people can get overwhelmed and disheartened when they no longer have that passion or fire inside to do what they originally were passionate about to begin with, you know?
And you know what, that actually is such a powerful statement from that, you know, your idol is like, for somebody to be like, hey, you know, when did you start your business? And for them to say, oh, it's not a business. It must have been like a shockwave there throughout the whole thing. And it kind of leaves me, because I feel like you have a lot of good advice for creators, obviously, after doing this so much, after turning your dream into a reality, right? It's a beautiful space, by the way, like I said, one of the nicest studios. What's your advice for people that they're passionate about something and they want to turn it into a business, but they're having trouble, one, or two, they don't even know if they should turn it into a business?
Something that I heard is, if you're willing to do it for free, that's definitely the path that you should take. But while I agree with that statement, it was a song. It was by Tom Mitch. It was a saxophonist. He's like, this is an art. This is like my morning coffee. He's like, I'm going to play music whether I'm getting paid or not. I'm going to go out there and play music, you know? And I absolutely love that quote, because it's true. I don't walk the streets because I'm getting paid. I'm not doing film photography because it's for the money. You know?
Oh, yeah.
But you have to find that balance. It's important. So let's say
right.
you are a photographer and you want to do portraits for a living. If you're willing to do that for free, continue to do it because you love it, because it's a passion of yours. Just keep in mind when you do start your business, if you are to start a business, make sure that it's nothing to do with portraits. You can, but do know that once you've turned this into a business, 50%, if not more, is going to be business. You're going to become a business person first.
Yeah.
You're going to have to worry about taxes, contracts, invoices, release forms, you know.
Yeah.
There's so much more on the front end and the back end, you know, that people tend to neglect. And yeah, I would just say find that balance, making sure that you know what you're doing for love and what you're going to do for the money.
Absolutely.
And keep those separate.
Yeah, no, and I actually agree with that statement. For example, me myself with like, you know, the camera and stuff like that, I feel like I went very heavily business centric. You know, I'm just naturally, business is what I enjoy, right?
Yeah.
So it only makes sense. But there's a lot of people that like pick up a camera, have a lot of skill, and they'll go out there and they'll, you know, do a lot of like work and stuff like that. And they're just, you wonder how they have the endurance to do it.
Right.
Or like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I'll see somebody do a crazy edit on Instagram, and I'll be like, where the hell do you find time to do this? Like, and I'm just like thinking in my head, but then I'm like, no, like they don't do it for that. They do it for their love.
Because
you
they
know
love
what I
it.
mean?
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting because some people eventually, I feel like they don't even intentionally want to be in business, right? But then all of a sudden they get dragged into it because somebody's like, oh yeah, we need that for our company. How much you charge? And then they're like, well, they know they can't do it for free necessarily. But
Right.
So
right.
it's very finding that balance. I think is important.
Yeah.
Because you know if you lean one side, people are just gonna always know you as it's a guy that you know. Yeah, he's a business owner. But then if you don't, sometimes I feel like you could even get taken advantage of.
Yeah.
Because some people are like, hey, you know, why don't you go to, you know, you love photos.
Well, just bring your camera.
Yeah, bring your
Right.
camera today, right? So what's been the biggest lesson that you've learned working and building this company with your partner?
It's not personal.
I love
Don't
that.
take things too personal, whether it is with a business partner, whether it's with an investor, whether it's with a client, you know. Keep in mind you're providing a product or a service. In my case, it's a service. And, you know, when I get feedback, I'm happy to receive that feedback, whether it's positive or constructive.
Yeah.
It's funny enough, I prefer constructive feedback
100%.
because it helps me improve and do better for the next person.
Yeah.
And just be a better photographer and a business person, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I feel like that's something that I've had to, this is like a hurdle that I had to get over, you know? Not taking things personal, it's just business, you know?
Yeah, no, 100%. I think that's great advice. And, you know, I think that's something that you learn over the years. I remember you said you used to work at H&M, correct?
So I was their photographer, yeah.
Yeah, you were their photographer for a while. Did any of that knowledge kind of seep into bringing it here, you know?
Oh, absolutely. I've made so many mistakes. I'm so grateful that they continue to look for me and accept my work because although I did have the knowledge, the base knowledge of ISO, aperture, shutter speed, I had yet to learn so much. But the fact that they took a chance on me to do some corporate videos, to do event photography, it was a blessing in disguise because everything that I learned there, I was able to carry over here. And I think if for not that job, I wouldn't be as professional as I am today. If I didn't have that experience at a corporate level, I think I would have been really worse off and not at the professionalism that I'd like to. I wouldn't take the proper precautions like contracts or release forms, talking to a lawyer.
Yeah, right.
You know,
That's
like
the stressful part.
all these things are very important. So yeah, I've learned a lot from them and I'm very grateful that they took a chance on me.
Thank you so much, man.
Yeah.
Like I said, you know, make sure you guys check out the XR Space. Space speaks for itself. It's great. It's amazing. Right here in Joliet. It's not too far from Chicago. Make a stop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hit 55, you'll be fine, or 80 if you're somewhere else.
Right.
So, yeah. Thank you again, man. I appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
And
man.
yeah.